Welcome into the Cam and Strick Podcast, episode number 41. What up, Cam Jansen?
42, you dumb shit. 42, you dumb shit.
You just told me 41.
I said 42.
You just told me 41.
Dude, 5 seconds and you already fucked it up. No, we're not.
Let's start it over.
No, we're not.
Start it over.
No, you fucked up.
Welcome into the Cam and Strick Podcast.
You fucking chirped me.
Episode number 42.
42. Idiot
Shit.
boy.
You just said 41, so.
I didn't say anything. You said 41.
Are your ears still plugged from hanging out in the Ozarks all weekend or what?
Oh, God.
Because I know you were down there.
I got hepatitis A through Z. I didn't go down there. No.
Holding your drink in the air like it's like
Did you see
spring break and you're some like green watered pool.
Fine. You want to get into this now? I didn't go to Lake of the Ozarks. I don't go on Memorial Day. I don't go on 4th of July. I don't go on Labor Day. I stay away. From it. I grew up down there. Apparently, I was conceived down there, which is fucking gross. But that's what my mom and dad tell me. That's why I'm fucked up. But that was like 35 years ago. Now, the Ozark series doesn't do any justice.
The TV show?
The TV show with Marty Bird, they don't do any justice. That's a piece of shit lake that they're filming on somewhere in fucking Georgia. They show all the slum parts and a bunch of hillbillies cruising around, which there are, and I'm kind of one of them. I get that. I grew up down there. I grew up around that area. I get it.
What do you mean you grew up down there?
We had a place down there, and we went there every single weekend. I grew up down there. All the weekends we went down there until I started playing hardcore hockey at the age of 10. Then I had to stop, and we had to sell it because our family couldn't afford it anymore. That's how it went, probably because of me. But you go down there now, there's $1 million houses everywhere you look. $500,000 boats, $1 million boats. It's all the wealthy people in Midwest all congregate down there, and they spend their money on hardcore boats. So
all the wealthy people.
They don't in the Midwest. If you have a big ass boat, you're going there.
There's still a lot of hillbillies down there. Come on now,
big time. But the point is, with the show, like it just shows like these goofy ass boats that they're driving around. Like that fucking thing would be swamped. You couldn't even get that thing in the main channel. Who are you kidding? They didn't show any of the. Honestly, the houses, the money that's down there is astronomical. And so like it brings a lot of like there's people spend money down there. It's just a fun place. It's a little too much. That scene down there was bizarre. Would I do that even pre-COVID-19? Fuck no. When I was 21, yeah, a different story. But nowadays, nah. They're not even worried about COVID. You see that cesspool they're swimming in? They're gonna get fucking hepatitis. Or there's a new disease that's coming out that we're all going to be quarantined for about next 6 months because of that pool that they're all swimming in.
There's a travel advisory because of it.
What does that mean? Sam, what does that mean? Explain that.
It just means...
What does that mean? That I got to advise you not to travel?
Be careful.
Like, what do you do?
They're suggesting that you ask people you work with if they were down there.
Okay, here's the thing, too. They've been doing this shit for like 3 weeks
were
straight.
you down in the Ozark before I make my copies right next to you?
They've been doing... If they have an earache, then yeah. Anytime you go underwater in that place, you get a fucking earache. It's god-awful. Anyway, I love it down there. So
is it a real lake or is it a man-made lake?
It's a man-made lake. 1930, baby. They dammed that bad boy up to Niagara.
Now it lost a little credibility.
Yeah, you did.
It's not a man-made? It's not a real lake?
No, it's a man-made lake. And those it worked out.
Wouldn't you rather go to a natural lake?
I don't care. What's the difference? It all come from streams anyway, you dummy.
Okay.
What the hell's wrong with you?
All right.
Look, the point is, you could have a blast down there. Now, would I go there and swim in a cesspool like that? With people splashing the cesspool water into your drink and then you drink it? Hell nah. I'm going to find a cove with my boys and we're going to chill and party and listen to music and no one's going to even see us. That's what I do, Andy. That's what I do.
All right. It didn't surprise me. You know, it made national news.
I know. This looks bad. And you know what? And this is a good case. Again, they've been doing this for like 3 weeks now. I haven't been a part of it, just so you know. They've been doing this for 3 weeks now. And we'll see if there's a spike. And if there's not, then it's like, okay. So, I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but to compare how they represent the Lake of the Ozarks on the Ozark TV show, it's just they don't do it justice, man. Multi-million-dollar homes as far as the eye can see.
All right, so the NHL, we've got the 24-team format, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play-in games, then you get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like, does this excite you? Are you excited about it?
Andy.
How do you think the players are reacting to it?
Well, you're going to answer. Should I answer the first question or the second question first?
Well, I don't really care what you think about it. So forget the first question. Let's get to the second question. Do you think players want to play, or do you think they know they have to play?
I think they know they have to play, and I think they do want to play. I think there's a little bit of both when it comes to that, because they already got paid their money, right? Okay, so it's not like baseball where, like, you know, the teams somewhat made their revenue. It'd be nice to make a little more. But for guys Now, I think they're going to look at this process and be like, okay, this is not going to be our natural. Anytime you go into training camp, you know exactly what you're going to get, really. You're going to get bagged in the morning. You're going to go and you're going to get on the bike early. You can get picked up from your hotel. Everything's going to be normal. You know your routine. Routine is a big thing when you're a hockey player. Now for these guys, they're going to walk in there. You're going to have to get something stuck up your nose to get tested or whatever the hell, which is god-awful. You're going to have to go there and you're going to have to wait to do a workout. You're going to have to wait to do this. Your routine's fucked.
While you're wearing a mask.
While you're wearing a fucking mask. And then you're doing, it's going to be so fucked up. I think the guys, though, know what it's like and they see to win that cup. It's just like, I don't give a shit. I'll go through war. I've been sitting around for 4 months. Let's get this shit going. People that play hockey love the game. And they're like, fuck everything else. If I have a chance to win this goddamn Stanley Cup where I could dive into fucking pools with it and party like rock stars like Andy, we did with Patty. We abuse that damn thing. And that's what it's there for. It's the funnest cup ever to win. And I think that's the motivation for these guys. So it's a little fucked up going to training camp. So what? These guys had to deal with this shit their whole life. If you make it in the NHL, you know what shit you have to deal with? Look at all these guys we fucking talk to. Like, you go through different things. So if it's a little wacky when you go to training camp, fucking suck it up and deal with it. Win that Stanley Cup, baby.
What do you think of players that come out and are critical or have questions or skeptical? I mean, it's like, listen, it's not perfect, dude.
It's not going to be perfect.
You can't compare it to any other year or any other time you've gone to the rink to play hockey. It's not the same.
You can't compare it. Here's the deal. If the format's the same as far as the playoffs are concerned, and there's 7-game series,
it's going to be 5 games from what I understand in the play-in round and likely the first round.
Okay, but you have to rest 3 7-game series where it's like you. Cause so if you're, let me finish. If you're a team and you're a wild card team and you got to play a round and then another 5 round and then you go into the playoffs and you fucking win that Stanley Cup, you're the best team. You're the team that came from this fucking shit. You came through it. You all came collectively as a unit. Your organization put you in the right spot to be in the right mindset to do this. You are the champion. You're going to party with that thing like we did. You're going to do whatever the fuck you want to do, and you're going to live this like you want to.
Are they going to be able to party with it?
That's the question.
Like they did
there you go.
The last 50
there
plus
you
years?
Go. Are they going to have 2 days with the cup? Are they going to have that lovely parade that we had, Andy, where I embarrassed Kate so much by the end of it? She had to get a fucking thing, get me out of there because I didn't eat in the morning. Are they going to have that? Or are they going to be like, oh, you win it, but you can't get the cup, and we're not going to have a parade? That sucks. That sucks. And that could be in the back of some of these guys' heads, like, we're not even going to be able to fucking enjoy it. Yeah, our name's on it, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's
but
a big
the
deal.
rest of the thing's a big deal, too.
I think they can still be able to have it. You never know, man.
That's a question.
They may have to social distance with it. You may not be kissing it.
Could you imagine?
You may not be eating cereal out of it.
Listen, could you imagine if we partied like we did at Patty's? And there's cameras there and COVID-19. Oh, my God. We'd all be arrested. We'd be tarnished in the newspaper like the Lake of the Ozarks crew. Anyway, so it's interesting.
I don't know, man. I mean, listen, just get hockey back.
Oh, shit.
See what it's going to be like.
We're talking about the Lake of the Ozarks. Can we talk hockey? Like, can we watch a game and break it
People
down?
ask these questions. How's it going to be without fans?
Whatever.
Listen, it's not going to be the same. But I have a feeling it's going to be really interesting, almost fascinating to watch, because they're going to compensate for it one way or another.
Yeah.
Either with fake crowd noise or whatever they do.
Or mic'd up.
So it's going to be so different that I think you're going to be so locked in because it is different to all the differences that are happening compared to what we're used to seeing.
What are we watching now? Tom Brady fucking duff a fucking ball into the crowd, into the woods like I would at the Legends Country Club.
I know.
Like, yeah, that's
and it's
entertaining.
the best entertainment you've had in months.
Market ratings out the wazoo.
Oh my God!
You think if the fucking this sexy ass team here in St. Louis is on the ice, you don't think everybody in this town's gonna watch and be like buying pizza and doing this and all come together and watch it?
And let me say this about players out there
on.
Who are worried about leaving their families and stuff like that. And listen, I'm sure they're going to have it.
I think that's far and
where
few
you can see your families. It may not be in the first round. It may not be in the first 2 rounds. They may wait till the conference final before families can come in.
I don't think guys.
But you know what? The setup they're going to create for families, if families are allowed. This is the National Hockey League.
There you go.
It'll be the sickest setup you've ever seen.
You don't think fucking Tom and the guys are going to, and this majority group in St. Louis is going to have these guys.
But it's the NHL, too. This is like an NHL event,
but
right?
still, they have to come out with some stuff out of their own pocket and make sure everything's set up. You think these guys aren't going to be, they are going to have the nicest setup impossible. They get the boredom. Yeah. They get if you guys are just clogged up in some room, they're going to be going crazy.
Clubs are going to open up for them.
There's going to be there'll be golf courses open
restaurants,
up, everything. Oh, come on in. Come in, 20 of you. Come in. I'm going to have it all nice. You get all set separately. We're going to have this way. They are going to hook these guys up so much because everybody wants the same thing. They want sports, not just for your entertainment, but for business too, especially in little towns like this.
Right. A week into it, you're going to have a bunch of teams leaving anyway. The next week, a bunch more teams are going to leave.
Man, let's get going.
Only 2 teams play in the Stanley Cup.
I'm sick of
final.
talking about my fucking cats.
All right, listen, Jarmo Kekalainen, he's on this edition of the Cam and Strick Podcast. When we had this conversation, it was before they came out with the 24-team format and all that. So we don't get into it with him, and probably wouldn't anyway, because it's really not that interesting. To get their take on it.
Concussion.
But Jarmo has a great story, man. I mean, how hard he had to work.
Absolutely.
To eventually become a GM in the National Hockey League. That was his goal, man. It was his dream.
Yeah. Anytime you get a GM on, man, you want to break it down.
So the first European general manager ever, he doesn't like when you bring that up.
Fuck that. We're going to bring it up, Jarmo.
He don't like it because
you are.
He just wants to. He's just a GM, right? Trying to win the Stanley Cup. So people will like this from Jarmo Kekäläinen. Hey, as always, brought to you by CarShield. CarShield.com.
Yeah.
You got to get your protection. Cam, if your car breaks down, you need a new engine, maybe your computer goes out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That can cost you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you really don't have set aside for car repairs. So make sure you're taken care of.
Only for Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But you're right. They do. They got it set up for you, man. They are the real deal. They're great for this particular community as well. They help out with the youth hockey. They do so much beyond helping you with your automotives. They do so much in this town. They are the absolute real deal, and we're glad we're teaming up with CarShield, Andy.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it.
Big time.
1-800-857-2481. 1-800-857-2481. Mention the promo code CAM.
CAM. Very simple. CAM. CAM. Just think of a beautiful human being. You're like, oh, yeah, beautiful human being. Oh, yeah, that's CAM. CAM.
Save 10% if you mention CAM.
Oh, yeah. I'll take that.
10%.
You'll lose 10% if you say Andy.
Yeah, you probably get 20%. Just try it. CarShield.com. Love having them on board here on the Cam and Strick Podcast.
Yeah, baby.
And, of course, our friends over at Bellman, BEHLMANN. I spell it all the time so people know how to get there because it's 2 N's.
2 N's. And there's an H in there somewhere.
Yes, BEHLMANN.
I knew that. And you could, look, we could help each other out. You buy a vehicle and you get set up. But, look, the weather's changing, baby. Andy, you talk about you always wanted that pink Jeep with the small tires with
Why are you stealing my lines?
With all these bumper stickers on the back. You could do that now, dude. You could do that now, Andy. They have Jeeps. They have Cadillac Escalade. You say you want a Cadillac Escalade? I don't think that suits you. I think you act like you want one, but I don't think you're going to get one. But if you are going to get one, you get it from Bellman.
Bellman.com.
Yeah, baby.
Say what's up to Danny Boy.
Awesome guy.
And to Dale.
Yes.
Check it out.
Hockey
and also
people.
Cope24.com as well. All right, Jarmo Kekäläinen. After the show, I'll ask Cam if he can spell Kekalainen because I know he can't. But here's Jarmo.
Starts with a C, doesn't it?
On the Cam and Strick Podcast.
Where are you at right now? Are you in Finland? You in Columbus? Where are you staying right now?
No, I'm in Columbus. In Columbus the whole time, and my kids just got finished with school, so they're on summer vacation, and I'm trying to work as normal as possible.
So how normal is it? I mean, is there any normalcy at all right now, Jarmo?
Well, I think that we're going through the stuff that we'd be normally going through, but instead of doing it face-to-face, I'm getting zoomed out every day from these different calls. We were on a pro scouting call this morning for 2 hours. All last week we did amateur meetings on Zoom, and we try to help the corporate side a little bit, doing stuff with them and keeping up with our management staff on different things so best days I think I've been on Zoom or GoTo meeting or something else for 5-6 hours, and that's about all I can take for one day of that stuff.
It's kind of nice though, isn't it? I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, I'm not even talking about the virus. I'm talking about Zoom and sometimes not having to leave your house, Jarmo. It's not all bad, is it?
No. If you could do it for a week, that'd be great. But now we've done it for two months, I think I'm ready to leave my house a little more regularly. I think it's everybody appreciates the life the way it was a little bit more now that it's gone to this, but I think you're right. Things could always be a lot worse, and that's one of our, I think, parenting mantras that we try to always say here in our household, that things could always be worse.
Yeah, I know. I have to. Kay has to put makeup on me all the time with all these Zoom calls. I look hideous these days. My hair looks terrible. So it's a process in the Jansen household. But going to Columbus all the time, and I just want to kind of speak of the city a little bit here, man. Like the rink is in such a cool spot. It looks like kind of like Ballpark Village a little bit, Andy. When you go there, I don't know if you've been there or not, Andy. But where do you live in Columbus, and how do you like that city?
Well, I love the city and the suburbs and the area in general. We live in a town called Powell. It's about 25-minute drive up north from the rink. Traffic here is nothing. It's nice. When people complain about traffic, I just kind of chuckle and think about New York or Toronto or LA, and like, you can get anywhere from across the city from one side to another in Columbus in 20 minutes. And it seems like everybody always asks or talk to each other and say, well, hey, how far do you live from there? It's always 20 minutes. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good in my books.
Oh, for
sure. I don't like traffic.
No, it's like that here in St. Louis, too, where you can truly get anywhere in 20 minutes. But what's the selling point, Jarmo, for you? Like when you're trying to recruit players to Columbus, what's the one thing you tell them that people may be surprised about or they wouldn't know about Columbus?
Well, now that you kind of also compared it to St. Louis, it's actually very similar. Even though I never lived in St. Louis and worked there for 8 years for the organization, I never lived there. But if you're starting a family, if you have a family, great city, great suburbs, great schools, safe. Yeah. And the one thing that I don't know if this is a great selling point for hockey players, but or it is for sure in the off season anyways, but this is a golf paradise. So if you love the game of golf, I don't think there's any better place than Columbus. We have 4 top 100 courses here. Mm-hmm. One is owned by our owner. The McConnell family owns that Double Eagle golf course. It's just a heaven on earth, piece of heaven on earth. It's unbelievable. It's so nice. And Jack Nicklaus is from Columbus, and Jason Day lives here, and it is a golf paradise. And I'm not a good golfer. I'm terrible actually, but I enjoy it every once in a while, and it sure makes it nice when you have the privilege to play on some of these courses here.
Are you still running like a madman? This guy runs marathons like it's nothing. He's always running. Are you still running, Jarmo? Or have you put that on quarantine now?
I've retired from that. Well, I'm running just not competing marathons or anything like that anymore. But I've moved on to play tennis, and pickleball is my new favorite.
Oh, yeah. Pickleball.
It's amazing.
What, in the gym when you hit off the wall?
No, it's amazing. It's like a small version of tennis.
Well, it's better than running. Yeah. I'll tell you that right now, Jarmo.
It's like a mixture of tennis and badminton and ping pong almost. Like you got these ping pong like paddles and like a wiffle ball, and it's actually the fastest growing sport in the United States. It's a great sport.
Wow, we should start our own team.
Let me write that down. I'm going to
start our own team, Jarmo. You can be the GM of our pickleball team too. Okay, let's get that thing going.
We've had a staff tournament at the Traverse City tournament 2 years in a row now. It's a great way to bond with the boys and have a couple of pops after, and there's also, if you get into it, the doubles and singles are like 2 different games almost. Singles is so hard and such a great workout, and the doubles is so tactical, and you have to be smart, and it's totally different. So it's a great game.
What do you do? So you're a big runner. You're playing a little bit of pickleball. We learned a new thing today. That's the most fastest growing sport in the United States. I would have bet a ton of money that was not true. Thank God I'm not a gambler. But what else are you doing? Are you still play? Like, do you have pickup games? Like, there's got to be some guys in that town that you can get together. And do they have a good alumni there? That
Ice
guys
rinks
all get
are
together?
shut down, by the way.
I'm just saying, this is all pre-COVID-19, okay, Jarmo? These questions are. But do you still skate?
Yeah, I love hockey still. I mean, it's a passion, and we have this staff skate on game days.
Nice.
Every home game usually, and everybody can participate. I've played pretty regularly in those. I haven't played as much lately, to be honest with you, because I've kind of sneaked to play tennis when I need my workout. If I want to get a little thoughts away from hockey for a little bit before a game, I go play an hour of tennis and get my sweat and workout done, and then get back to the rink, or pickleball. But yeah, I love playing. We've been trying to work on getting a good level of alumni game going, where all the guys played somewhere, either college or pro or whatever, and are still into it and take it seriously, but not too seriously. But we haven't been able to get it going regularly. There's a lot of alumni here too that are staying in town and living here after their careers. And like Freddie Modine lives here. Obviously Jody Shelley, who does media for us and TV for us, and he does a great job with. I think he organizes a lot of the alumni stuff. Rick Nash, who's now on our staff, he's going to live here for the rest of his life. His family's, his wife's from here. Andrew Castles lives here. So yeah, there's quite a few guys.
That's a good lineup. That's a good first line.
That's not bad.
That's a good first line. You might be able to compete one shift every 4 against us.
That's pretty good if I get a same line with Andrew Castles playing center and Freddie Modine on the other side.
That's not bad.
Nash will play D. He'll just have the puck the whole damn time.
So we used to have those, by the way, in St. Louis. Every game day, we used to have amazing staff skates and media skates. Man, it was so much fun, and I wish we'd have those, bring those back, man. So maybe they'll find a way to do that. But Jarmo, I wanted to catch up. Listen, you've got a story to tell. Not everybody knows your story. Some people do. Most people, I would say, probably don't. Cam has no idea. I tried to tell him earlier today. He knows some stuff, but he doesn't know the whole story. But just in terms of how hard you had to work and how long you had to work, Jarmo, to get to where you are today, it's got to be really gratifying for you.
Yeah. Cam doesn't know I watched him many times in that shitty Windsor rink.
I did know that.
The old barn, but actually I shouldn't have said that it's shitty, because there's so much tradition in those old barns. But it was getting up there where everybody had the new buildings and they changed into the new one. But there was certainly an atmosphere in that building. That's for sure. But yeah, it's been a long road, but I've enjoyed every moment of it. Obviously started through scouting in 1995, and I was working as a general manager for IFK Helsinki at the same time when I started doing part-time scouting for Ottawa in Europe, and it was actually a little bit more than a part-time job, because I was the only European scout at the time, and it's a pretty big continent to cover for one guy. So it was like trying to find a needle from a haystack, but that was a start, and I worked there for until 2002 with the Ottawa Senators, then moved to St. Louis for 8 years and got back into the management with the Finnish team, and went back to Finland for a couple of years and ran Jokerit, the other team in Helsinki, and then John Davidson offered me the job here, and I've been here since, so now just over 7 years. But hockey is every time people ask about hockey and like job, and it doesn't even really seem like a job. It's more like a lifestyle where you live and breathe hockey from the moment you wake up and you start absorbing the news in the hockey world to the in a normal times, the time that I switch the TV off when I'm too tired to watch a game anymore. So yeah, in between you try to take care of other important stuff around the family. But yeah, hockey's been a huge part of my life ever since I was a kid, and will be until the day I leave.
Well, what is it? World. You say it's a dream job, and I get that, because you're a hockey guy and you love hockey, and it consumes your life. But as far as maybe being an enforcer in the 90s, like the GM job of a hockey team is probably the most difficult job you could think of. And so when you did first come in and you were the GM of Helsinki, give me your daily routine. So you're a scout, and also now you're the GM. You're like, okay, I got an office. Now I have to get everything organized. Like, explain how that transition worked for you.
Well, tried to educate myself pretty well because I wasn't quite good enough to make a long career out of playing and make enough money where I wouldn't have to worry about the life after playing. So I have a management degree or master's degree in management from Finland University, and I have a bachelor's degree from Clarkson University in management. So I had some idea, in theory at least, on how you should run a business or build a team. And I'd always observe the coaches and the managers and people that I work with or worked against, and try to learn something every day from them. So I had a pretty good idea in my head on how I'd like to approach things. But obviously then, I was pretty young when I started, and you learn a lot of things as you go by making mistakes, quite frankly. And I was fortunate to work with people that kind of let me make my mistakes and learn from them and get better at it because of it. And I think that's a huge part of management that I've learned for myself, and how I try to help people around me is that you got to let people do their job. You give them the expectations. You got to give them the job description and expectations very clearly so that they know what to expect, what's expected of them. But then you let them do their job and let them make their own mistakes, and don't micromanage and try to get into their decision making too much. So that's one big lesson that I learned from people that I've worked with, and I think that as far as the philosophy of how you want to do things, I think that's something that you have a pretty clear picture of it in your mind. But at the same time, you got to have your antennas up, and you got to learn every day, no matter how old or experienced you get at this. You got to try to learn something new every day where you can get better at it. And again, I always try to learn from people that I work with or work against. Now my colleagues around the NHL, I try to always listen, trying to learn and what their style is and how they do things, and could we do things similarly and better because of what we learned from them, and sometimes the opposite too. And that's not now how we want to operate, the way they do things, and stay away from it. But I think that it's important that the day you start thinking that you know everything and you don't have to get better at what you're doing, is the day you want to quit.
You're right. I do think I know everything. And I do want to ask you this, though, which I don't. Andy's giving me the look right now. But, like, you're talking about mistakes. So, like, okay, you're a GM first time. You played hockey. Like what mistakes? Like, what'd you do where everyone's like, whoa, easy on that? Or was it a trade? Like, give me something as a new GM that you kind of messed up and you're like, oh, okay, I can't do that. Like, what are you talking about mistake-wise?
Well, I think it's just with people. I mean, it's so important that you surround yourself with the right people who you work with, and as far as the team, I don't know if I can give you a specific example of mistakes, but I think the one big thing is that when you get into it and you have strong ideas, strong vision of what you want to get done, and you sort of young in your career, you think that you have all the answers when you really don't. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake that I had as a young manager, is that I probably thought that I had more answers than I did. And it's a humbling experience. Obviously, you realize that, okay, maybe you should do a little bit more listening instead of talking, and that's something that I've tried to follow ever since. That let's listen first and absorb and respect everybody's opinion, and you don't always have to offer yours right away, and let everybody have their input and process the information, and now you may be able to make a better decision or put your opinion out there rather than always having the answers right away.
I've tried to take that advice. I've tried to take that advice, Jarmo. I mean, from back. Listen, you got to listen, right? I mean, you got to listen, and then maybe give your ears a chance every once in a while. But for you to be the first European GM, though, ever, Jarmo, I mean, you hope you're going to be a trailblazer and other guys are able to follow in your footsteps, but what does that mean to you? I mean, when you sit back and just reflect on the fact that you're the first one to ever manage over here, how important is that to you?
Well, it's not really that important because I just kind of feel that I'm a manager and amongst the other managers, and I'd like to win the Stanley Cup like all of my colleagues. And you guys there in St. Louis did it, and Doug Armstrong did a hell of a job, and that's what I'd like to accomplish rather than having the you don't get a trophy for being the first GM or first European GM in the league, but you do get a trophy for Stanley Cup. So that's the main thing, and that will always be the main thing. And it's not saying that I'm not proud that I was able to be the first, and if I can help others by example of that it's possible, then that's great. But first and foremost, the goal is the same as for any GM around this league is to win the cup.
You mentioned Doug Armstrong, and Jarmo, you were grinding it out for years and doing a hell of a job as the head of amateur scouting for the Blues. But when he got hired, was that difficult for you? Were you ready to be a GM at that point in time, or do you feel like, in hindsight, going back to Finland was maybe the best thing for you?
Well, I felt that I was ready, but I've also learned the process of hiring a little bit better since, and I understand that whoever is in charge and JD and Larry were the ones there making the selection process, I'm sure, with the ownership, and they did the what they thought was best for the organization. They did a hell of a job. Doug Armstrong is very respected around the league and has done it for a long time. He's won the cup as assistant GM. Now he's won the cup as a GM. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a very smart guy, and so JD and Larry and the ownership did a great job hiring, and that wasn't really the issue with me. I was just a little disappointed that I didn't get an opportunity to at least present my case, what I would have to offer as a GM if they were to interview and then hire me. But it was. It gave me the opportunity to go back to Finland and do what I love the most in hockey now that I can't play, which is managing a team and being around the team, being around the coaches, being around the players. And I once I got back to doing it in 2010, I realized even more how much I had missed it. That was a big reason why I wanted to make that move, is that I really missed that day-to-day management part and living the wins and losses with the team. When I was an assistant GM and running the amateur scouting with St. Louis, I was on the road all the time, all year. I had young kids at home, and they barely recognized me anymore. And so it was a lonely job that way, but it was gratifying also with the the players that you get to work with and see the results when they make an impact on the team, and team keeps getting better, as we did in St. Louis. Team kept getting better and better and more competitive, but I really missed the being around the team and living the games and every time you come to the rink and you put the suit on and you get the butterflies in your stomach and you can't wait for the puck drop to get the game going. That's the part that I love the most about my job now, and that's what I missed. And so I figured that I'd been doing it for 8 years with the Blues, and it was time. It was just time. I didn't want to get labeled as just a guy that's going to scout for the rest of his life and not do anything else. And there's certainly nothing wrong with it. It's a good life to, if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life, that's great. I mean, I know a lot of great hockey guys that have done it for years and years, a lot longer than I did, and still love every moment of it. And that's their dream job. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I realized that I had to pay the price and do that for a long time in order to establish myself around the league and show everybody I was willing to work hard to get where I wanted to get to. But at that time, I felt I needed a change, and it turned out to be a good decision.
So be honest with me. You go back to Finland. Did you truly believe you would get this opportunity, Jarmo? Do you think somebody was going to hire you or no?
I did. I thought there's just as good of a chance that I get hired from there. I had I'd worked in the NHL since 1995 for 15 years. So I had a pretty good resume on the NHL side. But as I said, I didn't want to get labeled as a scout. I kept reading stuff about myself where it's like, they were some people were analyzing whether I'd be able to do a GM job, and comments that, well, we're not sure if he understands the business side. Well, wait a second, I have a master's degree, and we're not sure if he can understand the numbers side of it. No, come on, no. That's not.
Wait, I've got a math degree.
I got a master's too.
but stuff like that, and you could sort of tell that you were getting labeled as, okay, well, this guy's a scout, and he's a scout, and he's been a scout, and that's all he'll be. And no, that wasn't all I wanted to be for the rest of my life. So I had to make a change, and I had to make a hard decision. But like I said, it turned out to be the right one, and I loved every moment of being the manager of the team in Finland. Jokerit was a great organization, played at the best facility in Finland at the time, in Hartwell Arena, where NHL games had been played. Mm-hmm. We had 4 different teams playing regular season games there while I was there, and we had an outdoor game 2 years in a row with over 40,000 people, and so we did a lot of things that were great and great memories, and again, doing stuff that I love to do is being with the team, and so it was, we wouldn't trade one day away from going back there and being there with that team, and that's what it's all about. We were in first place time when I left in the middle of the season, so it was hard to leave, because every year you go at it because you want to win the championship, whether it's in Finland or Sweden or in the NHL. It's always, the goal is always the same, and even though some leagues are bigger than others, the championship is a championship, and it feels unbelievable. I've had a chance to win one in Finnish league and been part in winning the American League championship here with Cleveland, and even though it's not Stanley Cup, it feels great. There's no feeling like that.
Winning's winning, and
I can only imagine how it feels like to win the cup, Stanley Cup. I mean,
look, Jarmo, I get it, man. Like, I got typecasted too. Cam's only a tough guy. You should see how I do things now. I'm toe dragging everybody. Now, granted, it's Bruce Affleck, who's like 75 years old and has one hip, but I'm still toe dragging him, so I understand that part of it. Let me ask you a question, though, about being a GM and how to just, like, deal. Like, you were a player. You're down to earth. Like, I've talked to you. Like, you're just down to earth guy. Like, you're easy to approach. How do you deal with talking to the players and having that vibe where you kind of want them to like you and respect you as kind of a player if you play with them, but then you're their boss too? And then on top of that, dealing with a guy like John Tortorella, very outspoken, and maybe he speaks his mind a little too much. Like, how do you balance that whole thing as a GM?
Well, I just try to be myself. I don't have an act, or I don't think that anybody could say that I'm a phony, or I have some kind of a circus act that I'm trying to follow. I'm pretty much the same, whether it's John Tortorella or John P. McConnell, our owner, or any other players, and I try to treat everybody with respect, with honesty, and no matter what the issue is, I think that I can look at everybody in the eyes and just talk about it as there matters that argue sometimes, not the people. And that's one principle that I think is very clear between me and Ports, is that we always get to the bottom of things. We argue hard sometimes, but we don't get personal with each other. And once we're done with it, it's just like, then we can have a beer. And I respect that about him. If John Tortorella has anything to say to me, he will say it right to my face. I don't hear it from behind my back. And that's the same way as I deal with anybody too, is that if I can't say it to your face, then I don't want to say it at all. And I think that's something that I always say to all the players, that, it might not be easy to listen to right now every once in a while, but later on you will have a lot more respect for that than having a little softer approach in front, but then you hear from behind that he was saying a totally different thing behind your back.
Yep.
And that's what they hate the most, and that's something that I really respect about Torts, and I think he respects that about me because I operate the same way, and whether it's the players or owner or John Tortorella.
The Cam and Strick Podcast is brought to you by CarShield. You know, nothing more frustrating, Cam, than when that engine light comes on and you know right off the bat you're going to have to spend thousands of dollars to repair your vehicle. Call 800-857-2481. Mention the promo code CAM or visit carshield.com and use the code CAM to save 10%. Yeah. That's carshield.com. A deductible may apply. Save yourself money. Sign up and get your coverage now with carshield.com. Now back to the interview. So, you guys go at it, though? I mean, you and Torts? And listen, I'd love to see some of those battles. I mean, and there's a respect factor, too, that he says it to your face. But when he says something to the media where it creates headlines, Jarmo, do you shake your head? Are you okay with it? Do you laugh? Like, what's your reaction when Torts is being Torts?
No, if I don't like it, I'll go to his office and we talk about it, and then I'll tell him why I think that he should have said it differently, and why it's not beneficial to anybody, not him, not the and for the organization or the team in particular. And we've done it several times, and you know, he listens, he reflects, then he says his opinion about it, and we argue back and forth, and we come to a conclusion. At the end of the day, you know, I have a pretty big say in how we want to represent the organization as far as what comes out of our mouths. So, you know, I don't ever approach my job as telling people that, you know, I'm the boss. That's why you should listen to me. But you know, that's part of my job description, is that I make sure that we all represent our organization, our franchise, similarly in a respectful way to all the people that we deal with, and that, you know, the requirement goes to myself first, and then it goes to everybody that works with me, whether it's the head coach or the players or anybody who works for us, how they conduct their business.
I got a question, just curious on just the GM job as a whole, and, you know, negotiating contracts and dealing with other GMs, and, you know, you all have to have a respect level at some point with each other, but it's also business, and we all get that. But, like, is there something that maybe goes on with negotiations and throughout the process of the whole season that is an unwritten rule in the GM world that no one really knows about, but it's like, damn it, you did that again, you son of a... Like, is there something that goes down on a regular basis, or that GMs all kind of come together and say, yeah, we're not doing that? Or you kind of get... I know it's a terrible question. Andy's also shaking his head on this. I'm not a reporter, but I'm also genuinely curious on this.
The Cliff Notes
I'm just that serious. Jarmo, is there something that, you know, that you guys all kind of congregate together about and kind of shake your head on different things like that?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think that you know, everyone, there's 31 guys now, there'll be 32, and I think they all have a different style of doing things. And as I said earlier, I try to learn what their style is so that I get and learn to deal with them better, in whether it's one-on-one or in a group of guys working together or talking about something. I think the one rule that is very clear amongst us is that even though you don't have anything written, once you have your conversations with the GMs on the phone or in person, that you better put your words very carefully into that discussion or conversation, because you know you can't go back on your word. If something comes out of your mouth that it could be perceived as an offer or proposal or whatever you want to call it, then you better live up to your word. And you know, that's something that I think it's probably a principle in any business, but you know, I've seen the opposite from various people, whereas I've never seen a GM go back on their word if we had talked about something where we felt that it was a deal or an offer that they then pulled it off the table. And I think that's sort of an honor code amongst the GMs that you better weigh your words carefully before you say it, unless you so that you don't want to get misunderstood. That you have to go back on your word.
What do you like more? Do you like trade deadline day or do you like July 1st? Well, what gets your blood going there, Jarmo?
I actually like the days after the trade deadline when you know that you're going to have your team there and you don't have to send down anybody anymore. Really, there's still some movement, but obviously it's a little bit more final with the roster and no roster limitations after that and all that. That's one part that I hate. I sat in that chair many times when the coach or the GM told me you're going down to the minors, and it's always a crushing moment, and I hate that about my job.
Did you ever cry? Listen, Lou Lamoriello told me that he cried when he traded Cam.
Oh, that's true.
Or maybe Cam told me. But Lou Lamoriello apparently cried when he traded Cam to St. Louis. Have you ever gotten emotional telling a player that he was being traded?
Would
Jarmo?
you cry for me, Jarmo? That's the question.
I've definitely gotten emotional. There's no question about it. I don't know if I've cried, but yeah, those are tough moments because you can see that, especially in situations where you can kind of see in the guy's eyes that he's probably thinking that this was his last chance to play in the NHL, and the kind of the hope is disappearing from the ice, and it really is hard, and I truly if there's one part of my job that I hate, then that's it. Trade's a little bit different because that means that there's another team that really wants that player. And sometimes it's good for the player to get traded so that they can get a clean slate and another opportunity and a better opportunity sometimes. So that's a little bit different, but it's also hard because it involves families and people have to move and not just the player but the families, the kids, and all that, and that's tough too. But for some reason, maybe it's from my personal experience, that I really hate sending players down to the minors.
Let me. Speaking of, Andy brought up Lou. Is there any current GM that's still working in the NHL right now that you kind of like? How about this? Current GM that you respect the most, and maybe you watched him over the years and kind of looked at his style and you saw that it worked, and you're like, you know what? I get that. I'm going to take a little bit of chunk of that. I'm going to take a little chunk of this guy. Like, what current GMs do you really respect the most right now?
Well, I have a lot of respect for many of them. Honestly, that's why I don't want to really name one or two, because I try to learn from each one of them, and maybe there are things that I'm saying to myself that I want to stay away from doing the business that way. But those are valuable lessons too, and I have a lot of respect for all of my colleagues and on what they do. Everybody has a different market, different ownership that they deal with. So there's a lot of different circumstances for everybody that they have to deal with, and half of them I have no idea about. So, it's not an easy job, and there are a lot of people around you that count on you and on doing a good job, that, their livelihood depends on how we do our job, because it's about winning and losing. And sometimes, you don't win enough, and the new owner comes in, or the owner gets fed up and cleans house, and everybody's gone. And so that's one part where I feel responsible. They got to do the best possible job so that I can provide the type of leadership that everybody has a better future ahead of them, who works for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and doing it by doing things right and winning, and that's I guess the only way to do it. But yeah, there are a lot of guys, and I mentioned Doug Armstrong. Obviously, I've worked with him and against him, and so I know a lot of the ways that he deals with things. He always comes up with very creative ideas at the meetings for the GMs, and a very witty guy too when you talk to him, with great sense of humor and stuff like that. But there are a lot of people that I've gotten to know a little bit better just from hanging out. And when we have the March meetings, you have a little bit more free time. Everybody's sort of a little bit more relaxed because the trade deadline's behind us then, and so you get to have a couple of longer dinners and pops and talk about hockey and other things, and you get to know people, and there's a lot of great guys. And I've known a lot of guys ever since I've worked in hockey. I was roommates with Brad Treliving in the American League, and for the when we played for PEI Senators.
Nice.
Oh yeah. It's a small world, isn't it? It's a small hockey world.
No kidding.
Hey, I want to go. I want to go back to
me
when
and Brad go back all the way to PEI.
Wow.
Damn.
Well, then
Fun times over there.
He better take care of you when it comes to negotiating some trades there, Yarmo. You know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
That's how easy it is.
There are no favors like that.
Hey, if Calgary and Columbus are dealing with each other, now we know why. They got the long history.
I heard Matthew loves Columbus. Talk about that.
Hey, I want to go back to.
Everybody's trying to pick each other's pockets.
Yeah.
No shit.
Hey, I want to go back to a couple of your draft picks real quick because we've got a St. Louis audience too. But 2006, you draft Erik Johnson first overall. When you have the first overall pick, Jarmo, I mean, you know who you're going to take? Are there any days you wake up and you say, man, are you sure we're making the right decision? Walk us through that decision. Was it as much of a slam dunk as everyone painted it out to be?
Well, it certainly doesn't seem like that when you look at it 14 years later. That's the beauty of the amateur scouting is that, you're dealing with 17-year-old, 18-year-old boys that then become men, and a huge part of the whole equation is the drive and the desire to get better. And did you guys watch that Last Dance? I'm sure everybody.
We were going to ask you, Jarmo. Shit, me and MJ are tight now.
I'm going to start watching the second time now because I liked it so much. But the one unbelievable thing that I thought about Michael Jordan was that how much with his desire to get better when the early episodes and on how hard his desire was to learn from the best and to get better at anything that he was trying to do, and the competitiveness and but just the itch and drive to get better every day. And that's so hard to find out from the information that we have available for the players that we scout. We watch them play mostly. Then we spend some time getting to know them off the ice. You interview. That's why one of the least favorite parts of my scouting process was the 15-minute interview at the combine. Like, what are you really going to learn about a player who puts a suit on and has all the rehearsed answers for you in 15 minutes?
Robots.
Yeah, I would always try to poke them, like if they had that answer that everybody thought that they were going to say it, and I'm try to get into the why. What do you mean? Like, what about this? And sort of get off the track of the rehearsed interview. But the character part is such a hard evaluation. What kind of a drive do you really have? As much of how much do you want to learn? How much do you want to listen? How much do you want to get better? What's your drive to compete? And that's one thing. That's one thing. I remember one thing though that I'll give you. This is something that I haven't really talked about anywhere. But we had this questionnaire for all those players, and we send them online, and Jonathan Toews was the first guy to answer it. Like, he answered within minutes of anybody receiving the questionnaire, and I was kind of thinking, Erik Johnson was. I would say that he was pretty much the consensus around the league that he was going to be number one. Not that that should mean anything for the team that's making that choice, but whoever says that they had somebody else number one, I want to see that list.
Yeah, no shit. Isn't it funny though? Like, who's your biggest inspiration? Oh, it's my dad. Okay. No. All right. It's always going to be your dad. Let me break this fucking kid down. Let's get him to not be a robot. That's going to be kind of tough though. Like, their agents are barking their ear the whole time. So do you just come off with like, what would your first question be with a kid where has somewhat of a personality, but you want to get it out of him, but now he's a robot because he's trained by his agent. So like, how do you do that? Like, what do you ask him?
Well, I would like to get to the bottom of how do you get better? Why? And he says, well, I do this. I go, well, why? What about in this area? Are you doing anything to get better in this and that? And he'll get specific examples of what the guys are doing every day. Like I'd ask about off-season training and there's so many great things that you find out about guys, and some are just clueless still at that age. But then when some are so driven to get all the answers. Like I remember Duncan Keith was one of those guys that he had a pen and paper at the combine, and he started asking us questions.
Really?
We were talking about nutrition and training, and all of a sudden he's interviewing us. And we're like, man, this kid's driven.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it's 18 years later.
Well, what if he was? What if he?
There's a reason. There's a reason for where some of those guys get better.
What if it was the finals and he wanted to go to Vegas, like Dennis Rodman, and he left for 2 days? Would you bench him the next day? Unlike Phil Jackson, I should say. I mean, that's a big deal.
There's some interest. I think there are some cultural differences between basketball culture and hockey culture. Mm-hmm. I think in hockey, if a guy left in the middle of the playoffs and went to Vegas, I think that he might have to face Cam Jansen's fist when he comes back to the locker room.
Or Andy's, even worse.
Yeah,
that's a little bit different from I think how they dealt with things, and obviously it was one of the greatest teams ever, and the dynasty and all that. So it makes you think that and I've had a lot of different experiences in my career. We had this guy by the name of Erik Johnson in IFK Helsinki, who became he came to the NHL and had a short career here, and then went to the substance abuse program here, and refused to be in it and left and went back to Finland. But I'll tell you one thing: we had a defense on that team. We won the championship that year. We had Brian Rafalski, Kimmo Timonen, and this Erik Johnson on our defense and on the Finnish team. That's two pretty good defensemen, Brian Rafalski and Kimmo Timonen.
Play with them.
Was Tim Thomas in goal too? Was Tim Thomas in goal?
Tim Thomas was in goal.
Oh my God!
But this guy Erik Johnson was at least as good as the other two guys, if not better, because he had the skill and the hockey sense of the shot, but he was big and he was tough, and we had some, that was a huge thing in the 1996-97 season when he got caught of using drugs for the first time, and it was like a huge scandal in Finland, because no athlete had ever been caught of doing all the stuff that he was doing. And I learned a lot from that and how we dealt with it, and it's so I've lived through some of that. Never where the guy left in the middle of the most important part of the season for Vegas for a couple of days, and you just shrug it off and welcome him back and win the championship.
Come on back.
Listen, there's so many picks you can be proud of, Jarmo. I mean, getting guys late like a Roman Polak who's still playing. I mean, David Backes in the second round. I mean, you've had some really good. Jake Allen in the second.
Stempniak in the fifth.
Stempniak in the fifth. But of all the guys, like all these first-round picks that you had, Jarmo, all these guys have gone on to have long careers. I mean, they're all still playing, including Patrick Berglund, who's playing over in Sweden. Is there a pick that stands out when you watch him play and you're just like, man, I'm so proud of this kid that he's still doing what he's doing, considering that, I mean, you've had a relationship with him back to when they were 17, 18 years of age?
Well, I almost give you the same answer as when you were asking me about your favorite or my favorite GM. It's like I don't really want to single out any single one player, because it's so much fun watching their progress, and I'm happy for all those guys that I was a part of drafting and then part of the development and stuff like that. So many fun memories from a guy like TJ Oshie, for example, that how he grew from how clueless he was when we drafted him. He was just a rink rat and guy who loved hockey but had no idea about training or any of the other stuff, and how he's grown into a family man and won the cup now. And Backes, I brought him to Finland a couple summers because his skating needed some work, and he did it on his own because he was a college kid and didn't want to lose his scholarship, and such a smart guy, and how he's handled his career and what a career he's had. And Polak, you mentioned I remember like yesterday when he was so frustrated because he was getting sent down again and wanted to go back to Europe, and I talked to him in the press box in Chicago, and and told him that 15 years from now you'll be laughing at this conversation because you've had a great career, but you got to stay patient here for a little bit because this is a business part here that you shouldn't be worrying about, but it's a huge part of why guys get sent down when they don't need waivers, and then when they do need waivers, they don't get sent down anymore if they're good enough.
Listen.
Yeah, he's been in the league ever since and has had a great career and wasn't the most skilled guy, but sure as hell was a team guy and sacrificed his body for the team and played hard and practiced hard.
Cam and Strick Podcast here for our boy Dan Bellman with Bellman.com.
Yeah, baby.
You need some new wheels? Why not get a Cadillac, a Buick, a GMC? Yeah. Head out to Troy today. And again, don't forget about Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram right across the street.
No doubt.
Right there in Troy, Missouri. Visit them online. Check out their new selection, the pre-owned selection, the best service you will find anywhere in the country. Bellman.com. BEHLMANN.com. Get yourself some new wheels in time for the summer.
Yeah.
Now back to the interview. I'll never forget when Oshie was drafted. And I remember saying to you, Jarmo, I'm like, hey, man, you're kind of getting crushed here for this pick. And you said, come and see me in 5 years. And that
Foot in mouth.
And Tarasenko, man, when you drafted Tarasenko and Schwartz in the same year. And Tarasenko, I think 16th overall. And you said, hey, if his last name was Smith, he'd be a top 5 pick. You always had these great one-liners. But the balls that it takes to make these selections, like an Oshie when he was expected to go much deeper in the draft, like how difficult is it when you're at the draft table and you're making these decisions?
Actually, not difficult at all, because I really don't. If we're going to go based on the public opinion, and I've been asked the question here so many times about why we drafted Dubois instead of Puljujärvi, that everybody thought that should have been drafted
right
at number 3. Then what are we doing? I mean, then we're not doing our job. We're just collecting information from people around us, the fans and whoever, and going based on they don't need us for that. We have to gather the information. We have to believe in our scouting staff that they put the right order in place so that we get the best player that's available. They do that job all year long. I've done it myself for 15 years. So I'm not going to go and get in their way of changing their list based on what somebody else thinks. We're going to go and draft based on what our scouts think and how they've come up with their order, and they worked hard at it all year. So that's what we go based on, and that's the only thing we go based on, and that's our job. And if you don't have the balls to do it, then go find another job.
Go find another job, Andy. We already talked about that. Last one for you, Jarmo, and I appreciate you coming on.
Last one from you. I got another one.
Okay, last one from me. So we had Pierre McGuire there on the other day, and we, of course, want to ask him. He's always around and sees hockey every single day, just like you. And he said, I asked him the biggest thing that you want to take away from the NHL today, and he said the trapezoid. But so I'm gonna present that to you. The biggest thing that you would like to change in NHL today, Jarmo.
Oof, I think
go ahead and say it. It's a great question. Go ahead and say it. That's fine.
I think the game is in great shape right now. I don't know. I mean, we're trying to tweak always things that would make it better. I don't know if the trapezoid. I don't know if I agree with that. So I got a lot of ideas, but I think that mainly the game is in great shape right now, and so I don't know if I'd go and change too much. To be honest with you. It just seems like it keeps getting better and better. It gets faster, and the guys are still able to do the same stuff and even more creative in some cases than they were when things were a lot slower. So the guys are incredible athletes, and they're very, very skilled and doing it at a high speed. And so it's the most entertaining game, in my opinion, on earth, and certainly the fastest. And so I don't have any great ideas on how we should change it, because it's certainly going in the right direction. But I'm always willing to have a long conversation about whys and why nots of tweaking little things. And I'm not so sure that I agree with the trapezoid. Maybe it would help the defenseman a little bit more if some of the goalies could work a little bit more freely behind the net. But at the same time, you'd be pulling your hair with some of the goalies don't handle the puck as well and try to go there too much.
Well, that's what we want to see.
Hey.
I don't have any more hair left to pull.
I got a sponsor for you.
That's true. Hair Club for Men. Although we're not giving out free sponsors.
They're going to jump on board before they throw it.
I like my hairstyle.
You look good. I follow you on Facebook, Jarmo.
Hey, how about, I mean, life is crazy. You never know what's going to happen. But, you know, you get passed over by JD here. They go with Doug Armstrong. You go back to Finland, and then he's the guy that hires you in Columbus. Like, what was that conversation like when he reached out to you? And were you surprised that he was the guy to give you your first opportunity as a GM?
No, I wasn't surprised because, you know, I didn't burn any bridges. I went to Larry and I went to JD and told him that, you know, what I thought that was wrong in the process and how they went about the hiring, and that was it. There was no, you know, I didn't burn bridges. We didn't have any hard feelings. We kept communicating. We stayed friends. I stayed in contact with them, and to this date, you know, me and JD, we call each other. Larry, I get the odd text from Larry, and you know, we stay in touch, and I think that was probably very important. And you know what, they respected the fact that I went to them and I talked openly about what I felt, that how or why I felt that things could have or should have been done differently in the process of hiring. But like I said early on, I never said that they did the bad hiring or did wrong by passing me by. You know, they made a great decision, and I understand now better than ever what goes through that. I just wanted an opportunity to present my case, and I told him that, and we're still good friends, and that's why I wasn't really surprised that JD called me, because, you know, I think that he respected the work that I had done in St. Louis and for St. Louis Blues, and we'd met. He'd come scouting Tarasenko in the November tournament. That was in our building in Helsinki, and we had dinner that night, and so yeah, we stayed in touch. I ran the New York Marathon in 2010, and I went to the game the night of the. After the marathon, and happened to be St. Louis Blues playing the New York Rangers that night. So I ran into all my old friends there, and that was great. And I always followed the Blues very closely from Finland, how they were doing, watching every game I could, following the stats of the players that you know, I'd been involved drafting, and so I had a lot of interest in how they were doing, and was pulling for them, and that's how things got done, and I got hired with the Blue Jackets by JD.
All right, and we're going to let you go, I promise. But when Panarin and Bobrovsku, you have both those guys, Jarmo, they leave. Like, when do you know they're going to leave? Like, do you ever have an idea that these guys are gone, but we just got to try to win while we have them? Or were you caught off guard? Like, what's your reaction when you see not one star player, but two star players pick up and leave your organization? How tough is that?
Well, we knew pretty much the whole year. We had tried the summer before them going into their last year very hard. I went to meet them in Europe, and you know, we offered Bobrovsku a contract in August, the year or before going into the last year of his contract. And we talked to Panarin and throughout the whole year, and it wasn't really going anywhere. So we knew that they were leaving. So, you know, but you can't really go out and say that. So we just kept saying, hey, we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying. And we did that, but with a good idea that they're probably going to leave. And then, you know, we were looking at offers, and Bobrovsky had a no move, so he wasn't going anywhere anyways. But you know, any offers that we got for Panarin were not good enough to move him. So we sort of rented him for ourselves rather than just move him for draft picks, or, you know, teams that wanted to make sure that they get him signed if they were going to pay a big price. And if they weren't sure they were going to get him signed, they weren't going to pay a big enough price for us to move him. So then we were looking at it as, okay, well, we got these guys now, and we got them for the last time, and let's try to make sure that with this group that we have right now has the best possible chance of winning. So we went out and did some more business by getting Duchesne and Dzingel and a couple other pieces, and we felt that we gave ourselves a really good chance to win. I think we proved that to everybody by beating the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then having a pretty good series against Boston, and those were the two best teams in the regular season, and so I don't think anybody can say that we didn't have a realistic chance of winning. If we could beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, we could beat anybody, but we didn't. Mm-hmm. So we fell short, and the rest is history. But it was a great run while it lasted. And was it worth it? Yeah, it was great for our city. It was great for our franchise. Our fans are still now, especially when we don't have hockey, they're always talking about it. I get to do these Zoom calls, like I said, every day, and people are talking about it still, how great and how exciting it was to win the playoff series. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot in some of the traditional organizations that have been around the league for a long time and have won a lot. But hey, it's one step at a time. We took a huge step into the right direction, and we still have a good team here. And that was part of the reason why we had courage to do it, is that we knew that by giving up a few pieces of our future, we still had a great future ahead of us. We have our cornerstones in our really good defensemen, and Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, and company. And we got Pierre-Luc Dubois. We have two really good young goaltenders that pretty much everybody doubted us about. But they proved to everybody that they're capable of doing the job. And we got them now signed for the next 2 years. We have a lot of good things going for us. We're still among the youngest teams in the league, and we're building and we're moving into the right direction. And I think that you're going to see that we're going to be a tough team for a little while here.
Yeah. You had to have known JD was out, right? I mean, once the job opened up in the Rangers, how close the Rangers are to his heart, I mean, you could understand why he left, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think he would have left to go anywhere else. He loved it here too. He loved Columbus, and you guys know how much he loves his golf in the off season. And we were members at Double Eagle and played there together a lot. I don't play quite as much as he does, but he enjoyed his time here, and I think it was a hard decision for him. But like I said, probably the only team that he would have left for, and I don't want to speak on his behalf, but obviously the history that he had with the Rangers, both as a player and a broadcaster, where he spent a lot of his years in New York, and it was a great opportunity for him, and we thanked him for everything, and I'm forever thankful for the opportunity that he gave me.
Awesome stuff, Jarmo. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. We kept you longer than we should have.
I know.
But we appreciate
problem,
it. Listen, I knew you'd be a GM one day. You're doing a great job, and keep that up. And hopefully we get back to playing. And actually, you've got some games and a team to start managing again here in a few weeks. So you got a gut feeling on that? Are we going to see hockey again or what?
Yeah, I'm the optimist. I always say that, but yeah, as long as we see the light at the end of the tunnel, I think we're going to play. We're going to finish the season, and then we might have to push next season a little further into the future, the start of it, but we'll be able to finish that too, and there'll be a vaccine, and we'll get back to normal.
Yep. Yeah, you just got to wear a bubble. You can't spit, you can't cuss, and you can't fight or no scrums, and it'll be just fine. And I don't even care. No. You have a bubble on, I'll still watch hockey right now. I think everybody will too, especially according to this Michael Jordan documentary, which everybody's watching. So it's the only sports things going on right now. Yarmo, thank you for coming on, big boy.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Take care now.
See you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
And that was Jarmo Kekalainen. Hope you enjoyed that here on the Cam and Strick Podcast. Listen, I'm so happy for this guy. He's totally earned it. Yeah. There was one point in the Blues organization where I said he's the most important person in the entire organization.
I read that article.
Did you?
No.
Because you know why I said that? Well, they were bad, and they had all these first-round picks, and the only way to be good, they had to hit on all these first-rounders. He didn't really miss on any of them.
Really?
And you could say, well, he had high picks. Well, you know what? Yeah, some people took Zach Bogosian third overall.
How about Nail Yakupov?
ahead of Alex Pietrangelo.
Exactly.
They could have made a mistake high in the draft.
It's easy to make mistakes at 18.
Even Lars Eller and Ian Cole, David Perron,
they're good.
They've all had long careers.
Stanley Cup winners.
Those aren't top 5 picks. None of those guys are top 10 picks.
Yeah, dude. Stanley Cup winners.
So, I mean, Erik Johnson first overall, you can look at it any way you want, but then
Need a defenseman.
Patrick Berglund late in the first round, Oshie late in the first round. Are you kidding me?
Oshie turned this city around.
And then what he's done there in Columbus, and again with late round picks, this guy is really good. It's kind of interesting though how JD and him, I mean, it's kind of what led to him going back to Finland, because JD didn't hire him as the GM here in St. Louis. They went with Doug Armstrong, which has proven to be a great decision. And then Jarmo leaves, and then JD hires him and gives him his first opportunity. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy stuff. That's the drama in hockey, baby, and the hierarchy of hockey, I should say, that I was never a part of. But go ahead.
Yeah. Did he ever? You remember see him scouting you in Windsor?
No, I wouldn't even notice him anyway. Like,
did teams talk to you like after games?
Yeah, I talk to people. Oh yeah, big time. I was talking to people at 13, 14
like,
years old.
Did you think you were going to get drafted? Like you thought you were?
100%.
Okay.
Oh yeah, when I was young, right, a couple years into my hockey career, the people were coming up. Not that I was like, but I was. I don't know.
How young are we talking?
Like 13, 14 years old. I started at 10.
NHL teams?
No, agents and scouts for OHL and stuff like that. I didn't even know what the OHL was. And they're coming. My dad would hand me and show off to all the other dads of all the business cards he got from agents.
Right.
He'd show off like an ass.
David Frost.
David Frost was my mom. I'm like, you like Cam? Like, you ain't pulling that
He's
shit
like,
on me.
come on, I'll take care of you.
Smack the shit out of your ass.
I'll take care of you.
Fuck you. I have a good.
Come up to the OHL. Come up to the OHL.
Come by me, motherfucker. Psycho. Anyway,
that's hilarious.
I don't want to joke
and your
about
dad had no idea.
We had no idea about anything. We didn't even know what the fuck we were doing. We just did it. I mean, honestly, it sums it up.
Did you know when you went to the OHL that it took away your NCAA eligibility?
Shut up. That's a stupid ass question by you. See, I knew that was a dick. That's a Dick Andy question.
Because
right
now
there.
you can't go to college. You can't go to college and play college hockey.
That's a Dick Andy question. Right
Why?
There. What would I have gotten out of going to college? What would I be doing differently? Would I be making? Making more money? I'm sorry.
You never know.
Oh, doing what?
You never
Working
know.
for NASA? Being a lawyer? The fuck are you talking about? And I would have got a full ride. These guys are fucking $100,000 deep, and they're like, "Oh, what am I doing? I'm getting in the radio." Like, I don't know, man.
Did you go to high school in Windsor?
Yeah, dude, 3 different ones.
Like every day?
When I wanted to. I had a contract for a couple $100,000. I had a nice big SUV. I had a cell phone for the first one.
Was it an all boys school or no?
Fuck! Are you out of your fucking mind? I switched 3 different high schools just to meet new chicks, and that's what I wanted to do, and that's fine. It is what it is. But I would go into a Catholic school with a USA button-up shirt with jeans on. And you're not supposed to wear. I'm like, I'm sorry about that.
You can't wear USA.
Well, we had to wear a
you
uniform.
Couldn't wear jeans.
No, you had to wear a uniform.
Oh,
and I'm like,
I
don't. My uniform ripped or something, and I just did whatever I wanted. I wasn't.
You're
mean.
like, I'm from Eureka.
I just thought I was too cool for school. But
like,
I still went to school.
You're like, okay,
girls.
I'll quit.
Yeah, like, what do you want to do? I'm not even learning. I knew what I was doing, and I worked my. Look, you could chirp me about the school shit, Andy, but you know what I did at 6:00 in the morning? Mm-hmm. I went over to Detroit and boxed with some heavy-hitting motherfuckers.
You did back then?
Fucking A, I did. I went to Detroit, and I boxed in the morning before fucking practice and before school with hardcore motherfuckers that you wouldn't even look at, and you'd be like, I'm scared. And I fucking went in there and did it.
Probably would be.
Get on with yourself.
Who the hell are you fighting in Detroit?
No one. These boxing guys.
Who's setting this up?
This
for
guy
you?
was this guy, man. This guy came up and he talked to me after a game when I was 17 years old, and he's like, "Come over here. I got a gym over here. I want to teach you some things." I'm like, "Okay, what time?" 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, "Okay, Ambassador Bridge. I gotta go across the Ambassador."
Did you ever
Bridge.
consider doing the UFC?
No, man. UFC wasn't anything then. I remember watching.
I'm talking even later in life.
Fuck no. Why would I? I'm making money doing this. I don't want to fight anybody anymore. I'm done with it. I'm so far behind the grappling and the jiu-jitsu game, I'd get fucked up.
Do you remember your last fight?
No, I don't.
In the NHL?
No, I don't. I don't know who it was. Oh, maybe Prusty when he gave me that uppercut and almost buckled my ass.
Maybe,
but didn't, Prusty. But you didn't, Prusty. I ate that motherfucker. I did eat that thing. It was nasty. I think I'm still kind of dizzy on that though.
All right, you might be. If you're dizzy, make sure you get yourself good and then sign up. Have you signed up, by the way, for your coverage with CarShield?
I'm going. Kate's like, sign up.
I'm going to call you out live.
Okay, fine. I'll sign up in 2 seconds. It's the easiest thing in the world.
How hard is it?
I got to type things in, and I'm starting to use my left hand with my computer, which is always a good thing.
Carshield.com. Get your coverage today. And again, check them out online, or you can call them 800-857-2481. 800-857-2481. Save yourselves thousands of dollars. Use the promo code CAM, save 10%. Also, Bellman.com. BEHLMANN.com. Get yourself some new wheels for the summer. Cope24.com.
Oh, girl, what's up, Renee?
Changing our parenting experience.
Yes, damn right. She's awesome.
We love you, Renee.
We love you. We love everybody, Andy.
Hey, everybody.
We're lovely. We love to love.
Yes. By the way, episode 50 coming up soon.
Yeah.
We'll take your suggestions. Who do you want for our big 50th
Who do you want?
celebration?
We can get anybody. Who do you want?
Who do you want on?
Who do you want? Andy will text the shit out of you if he wants you.
and we've got some good ones coming up, though.
We do. We got good
ones. By
ones.
the way, including Jarmo Kekäläinen, who you just heard. Hope you enjoyed that. All right, keep it locked here on the Cam and Strick Podcast. Check out all our social media followings. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram. And again, you have any comments,
more content
feedback.
coming out too. We're gonna start bringing all kinds of content from older podcasts. We interviewed so many guys, Don Cherry to Mike Commodore, that we just started. That were so
Ryan
good.
O'Reilly,
So
Barry Melrose.
We're gonna start tweeting out different clips and stuff like that. So don't be sure to go back and replay some of these old school cats that we've had on, man.
Yep.
There's some good ones.
All right, and of course our friends here at the Normal Brand.
Hell yes.
Check them out, normalbrand.com.
Even makes Andy look sexy when he wears these clothes. Trust me, it works.
All right. Check you later. This is
Check you later.
Podcast.
Check you later.